My grandfather's rifle was heavier than I remembered, or maybe it was just the weight of her lies pressing down on me. When Karen flowers bloom, they say the valley whispers secrets, but all I heard was her shrill voice claiming my family's ranch was hers. I'm Elias Cole, fifth generation to work this land, 150 years of sweat and blood soaked into every plank of the ranch house. The Karen flowers, those stubborn, violet blooms that cling to the arid soil, were my great-great-grandmother's pride, said to symbolize resilience. They're all that's left of her now, except this ranch. My ranch. The one Veronica Slade, realtor from hell, swore she'd bought out from under me. She showed up that morning, stilettos sinking into the dirt, waving a deed I'd never seen, screaming about ownership like she'd tamed the valley herself. I laughed at first, thought it was a bad joke. Then she brought the sheriff. The air was thick that day, the kind of heat that makes your thoughts sluggish but your temper sharp. Veronica stood on my porch, her platinum hair glinting like a knife in the sun, her manicured nails clutching that damn paper. Elias, sign it over, or I'll have you dragged off, she said, voice dripping with city venom. She wasn't from here, some outsider from Denver who saw our valley as a quick buck, a place to flip for condos and strip malls. The Karen flowers meant nothing to her, she'd probably pave them over for parking lots. Sheriff Amos Kane stood behind her, his boots scuffing my dirt like he was apologizing with every step. Amos and I grew up together, fished in the creek, stole apples from Old Man Harrow's orchard. He knew this land was mine, same as he knew the sun rose in the east. But his badge made him twitchy, caught between his oath and the truth. Elias, he said, voice low, she's got documents. Legal ones. You gotta show me something, or I'm stuck. Stuck. I spat, my grip tightening on the rifle I hadn't touched since I shot coyotes as a kid. This is my home, Amos. My family built this place when your great-granddaddy was still in diapers. You think some forged paper changes that? Veronica smirked, like she'd already won. It's not forged, Mr. Cole. I paid good money cash to the county. Your taxes were delinquent. The ranch was auctioned. Legally, it's mine. Her eyes gleamed, predatory, like she could already see the bulldozers rolling in. Delinquent taxes. I'd paid every cent, scraped together from selling cattle and fixing fences. My father taught me you don't let the land go, no matter what. I'd sooner sell my soul than this ranch. You're lying, I said, stepping closer, close enough to smell her expensive perfume clashing with the valley's dust. And you're trespassing. Again. She didn't flinch. Trespassing. This is my property now. Sign the deed, or I'll have the sheriff arrest you for obstruction. She turned to Amos, her voice syrupy. Sheriff, do your job. Amos's hand hovered near his holster, his eyes darting between us. Elias, put the rifle down. Let's talk this out. Talk. I laughed, bitter. She's been sneaking onto my land for weeks, Amos. Taking pictures, measuring my fields like I'm already gone. You gonna let her steal my home because of some paper? The valley seemed to hold its breath. The Karen flowers swayed, their violet petals catching the fading light. I remembered my mother's stories, how those flowers survived droughts, fires, everything the world threw at them. They were fighters, like us. I wasn't signing anything. Veronica's face hardened. You're a stubborn fool, Elias. This ranch is a relic, and you're squatting on progress. The valley's changing condos, resorts, real money. You're standing in the way of a future that doesn't need you. Her words hit like a slap, but they didn't break me. This land wasn't just dirt and wood, it was my father's calloused hands, my grandmother's songs, the graves of my kin buried under the old oak. I looked at Amos, his face torn, and I knew he felt it too, the weight of history against her lies. Amos, I said, voice steady, you know me. You know this place. You really believe I'd let taxes slip? That I'd lose my home to her? He shifted, uncomfortable. The county records show unpaid taxes, Elias. 3 years. They sold the ranch at auction last month. She's got the deed, stamped and notarized. Then someone's dirty, I said, staring straight at Veronica. Someone's been paid to fake those records. And I'm betting it's you. Her eyes flickered just for a second, but I saw it. Guilt? Fear? Didn't matter. I'd caught her scent. You're desperate, she said, but her voice wasn't as smooth now. Clinging to a dying ranch with nothing but stories. Sign the deed, or I'll make sure you lose everything. The rifle felt alive in my hands, begging to be raised. I didn't want to shoot her, God knows I didn't, but the thought crossed my mind. Get off my land, I said, each word a hammer. Now. Amos stepped forward, hands up. Elias, don't do this. Put the gun down. We'll go to the county, sort this out. Sort it out. I snapped. She's been harassing me for months, Amos. Showing up with surveyors, leaving notes on my door, calling my phone at midnight. Now she's got you playing her errand boy? Veronica laughed, sharp and cold. Harassing? I'm protecting my investment. You're the one waving a gun like a lunatic. The tension snapped taut, like a rope about to break. Amos's hand was on his holster now, not hovering anymore. The Karen Flowers seemed to lean in, witnesses to a fight that had been brewing since Veronica first set foot in our valley. I could feel my pulse in my ears, the world narrowing to this moment, her, Amos, and the land that held us all hostage. Then I heard it, tires crunching on gravel. A truck pulled up, kicking up dust, and out stepped Clara, my neighbor and the only lawyer within 50 miles. She'd been my father's friend, the one who helped us fight off developers 10 years ago. Her gray hair was pulled back, her face set like she was ready for war. Veronica Slade, she called, striding toward us, you've got some explaining to do. Veronica's smirk faltered. This doesn't concern you, Clara. Like hell it doesn't, Clara said, holding up a folder thick with papers. I've been digging into county records. Your deed is a fraud, and I've got the proof. The air shifted, like the valley itself was exhaling. Amos's hand dropped from his holster, his eyes locking on Clara. Proof? He asked. Clara nodded, her voice cutting through the heat. The county clerk's been taking bribes. Veronica's been greasing palms to fake tax defaults and push auctions through. Elias never missed a payment. I've got bank records, receipts, everything. Veronica's face went pale, but she recovered fast. Lies, she hissed. You're just protecting your backward little town. This ranch is mine, and no small-town lawyer's going to change that. Clara didn't blink. We'll see about that in court. But for now, you're the one trespassing. Sheriff, you want to do your job. Amos looked at me, then at Veronica, then back at Clara. I could see the gears turning, his loyalty to the valley warring with the badge on his chest. Show me the proof, he said finally. Clara handed him the folder, and as he flipped through it, Veronica's composure cracked. This is ridiculous, she shouted, stepping toward Clara. You can't just. I raised the rifle, not aiming, just enough to make her stop. Back off, I said, my voice low but steady. You've pushed too far. The valley was silent now, save for the rustle of Karen flowers and the faint hum of a distant wind. Amos closed the folder, his jaw tight. Veronica, he said, you're coming with me. We're going to the station to sort this out. Her eyes darted between us, a trapped animal's panic. You're making a mistake, she said, but her voice was shaking now. This isn't over. It's over for today, Amos said, taking her arm. She yanked free but followed, throwing one last venomous look at me as they walked to his cruiser. Clara stayed, her hand on my shoulder. You okay, Elias? I lowered the rifle, my arms suddenly heavy. I don't know, I admitted. The Karen flowers swayed, their violet heads bowed like they were mourning something. Maybe they were. That night, I sat on the porch, the rifle across my lap, staring at the valley. The stars were bright, the air cool, but the weight of the day clung to me. Veronica wasn't done, I knew that. People like her didn't stop until they'd burned everything down. But I wasn't done either. This ranch, these flowers, this land, it was worth fighting for. Worth dying for. The next morning, I found a note nailed to my door. No signature, just 5 words scrawled in sharp, angry letters: "You'll regret this, Elias Cole." I tore it down, crumpled it in my fist, and tossed it into the dirt. The Karen flowers watched, silent witnesses to a war that was far from over. The note's jagged letters burned in my mind, but I had no time to dwell. The valley woke angry that morning, wind howling through the Karen flowers like a warning. I'd barely slept, the rifle still by my side, its cold steel a reminder of how close things had come to breaking. Clara's proof had bought me time, but Veronica Slade wasn't the type to slink away. She'd be back, sharper and meaner, and I needed to be ready. I called a meeting at the ranch that afternoon. Clara came, her folder of evidence thicker now, pages dog-eared from late-night digging. Amos showed up too, his sheriff's badge glinting but his eyes heavy with guilt. Then there was Lila, my cousin, who'd driven in from the next county. She was fire where I was stone-quick to laugh, quicker to fight, with a temper that could spark a brush fire. She'd grown up on this ranch too, knew every inch of its history, and wasn't about to let some city slicker steal it. "Elias, you should have shot her tires out," Lila said, half joking, as she leaned against the porch railing. "Save us all this trouble." "Wouldn't solve much," I said, managing a tired smile. She'd just come back with a lawyer and a tow truck. Clara spread her papers on the kitchen table, the same one my grandmother used to knead bread on. "Veronica's not working alone," she said. "The county clerk, Harold Vance, took her money to fake those tax records. I've got his bank statements deposits that match her payments to the dollar. But he's not the top dog. Someone higher up's pulling strings." Amos shifted in his chair, uncomfortable. "You're saying the county's corrupt?" "That's a big accusation, Clara." "It's not an accusation if I've got proof," she snapped, sliding a bank record across the table. "Harold's been skimming for years, but these deposits are new. Big money, wired from a shell company in Denver. Veronica's just the facetterie planning something bigger than this ranch." Lila's eyes narrowed. "Condos, right? Turn our valley into another soulless suburb." "Worse," Clara said. "I found plans filed with the state. A corporate resort golf course, luxury hotels, the works. They're targeting the whole valley, not just Elias's land. The Karen flowers. They'll rip M out for fairways." The words hit like a punch. This wasn't just about my ranch, it was about erasing everything: our history, our home, the flowers that had outlasted droughts and wars. I stood, pacing, my boots loud against the worn floorboards. "So what do we do? Take this to court?" Clara nodded. "It's a start. But Veronica's got money and lawyers. We need more witnesses, documents, anything to tie her to the corruption." Amos cleared his throat. "I can talk to Harold. Lean on him. He's a coward, might crack if I push hard enough." "Do it," I said. "But quietly. If Veronica gets wind of this, she'll cover her tracks." Lila grinned, "Dangerous. And I'll poke around town. People talk. Someone's gotta know something about her." We split up, each with a job, but the weight didn't lift. The valley felt like it was closing in, the Karen flowers watching like they knew what was coming. I spent the day checking fences, more to keep my hands busy than anything else. Every creak of the gate, every rustle in the brush, made me glance over my shoulder, expecting Veronica's smug face. By dusk, trouble found us again. Lila called, her voice tight. Elias, get to town. Now. Veronica's at the diner, stirring up a crowd. I grabbed my keys and drove, the old truck rattling over dirt roads. The diner was packed, locals spilling out onto the sidewalk. Veronica stood on a chair, her voice carrying like a preacher's. This valley's dying, she shouted. You're all clinging to dirt and nostalgia while opportunity passes you by. My investors will bring jobs, money, progress. Elias Cole's standing in your way, hoarding land that could save this town. A few folks nodded, swayed by her promises. Most looked skeptical, but I saw fear in their eyes, fear of change, fear of losing what little they had. I pushed through the crowd, my blood hot. You're selling lies, Veronica, I said, loud enough to cut through her speech. This land's not yours, and you know it. She turned, her smile sharp as a blade. Elias, you're a relic. This valley needs vision, not your stubborn pride. Vision? I shot back. You're tearing out our roots for profit. You faked that deed, bribed the clerk, and you think we'll just roll over. The crowd murmured, shifting. Veronica's eyes flickered, but she held her ground. Prove it, she said. Or step aside. Before I could answer, Lila pushed forward, holding up her phone. Oh, I've got proof, she said, her voice dripping with venom. Harold Vance just sang like a canary to Amos. Recorded it, too. Want to hear him say your name, Veronica? The crowd went quiet, all eyes on her. Veronica's face didn't change, but her hands clenched. You're bluffing, she said, but her voice was thinner now. Am I? Lila tapped her phone, and Harold's shaky voice crackled through. Veronica paid me 10 grand to change the record, said it was for the resort. The crowd erupted, some shouting, others whispering. Veronica's mask slipped, her eyes darting for an exit. You're done, I said, stepping closer. Take your fake deed and get out of our valley. She laughed, but it was hollow. You think this ends here? My investors won't stop. You've just made enemies you can't afford. She pushed through the crowd and left, her heels clicking like gunfire. The diner buzzed, locals arguing, some siding with me, others tempted by her promises. I felt no victory, only the sick certainty that this was far from over. That night, Amos called. Harold had vanished, left town with a bag of cash. Probably tipped off, Amos said. I'm sorry, Elias. I should have moved faster. Not your fault, I said, but it stung. Our proof was slipping away, and Veronica's threat echoed in my head. Enemies you can't afford. The next week was a blur of legal meetings and sleepless nights. Clara filed motions to challenge the deed, but Veronica's lawyers were sharks, burying us in paperwork. Rumors spread, some said she'd bought off half the county, others that her investors were tied to bigger players, maybe even out of state. The valley felt like a powder keg, every glance from a neighbor laced with suspicion. Then the fires started. Small at first, a patch of Karen flowers burned near the creek, then a shed on the edge of my land. No proof it was Veronica, but I knew. She was sending a message, sign or burn. Lila wanted to confront her, but I held her back. We fight smart, I said. She wants us to lose control. Clara found a retired clerk who'd seen Harold doctor records before. We tracked her down, an old woman named Ruth who lived in a trailer at the valley's edge. She was scared but angry, tired of seeing her home sold out. Harold's been dirty for years, she said, handing us a ledger. This shows the real tax payments, yours included, Elias. Never missed a dime. It was gold, but it came too late. That night, I woke to the smell of smoke. My barn was ablaze, flames licking the sky, Karen flowers glowing red in the heat. I ran out, bucket in hand, but it was no use. By morning, the barn was ash, and scrawled on a charred plank was one word, sign. Lila was ready to kill. "We end this now," she said, grabbing her keys. "I know where Veronica's staying." I stopped her, my voice hoarse. "She wants us to break. We go to court, use Ruth's ledger. That's how we win." But the court date was weeks away, and Veronica didn't wait. She came back, this time with a bulldozer and a crew, claiming preliminary work on her resort. Amos stopped them, but barely. His hands were tied by legalities. The valley was fracturing, neighbors turning on each other, some bought by Veronica's promises, others clinging to the old ways. The final blow came quietly. Clara called, her voice shaking. "The ledger's gone. Someone broke into my office, took everything." I knew it was Veronica, but we had no proof, no witnesses. Ruth went silent, too scared to testify. Amos was powerless, his badge useless against her money. The court date arrived, and we stood in a sterile room, Veronica's lawyers outnumbering us. Clara fought hard, but without the ledger, we had nothing. The judge ruled in Veronica's favor, citing her valid deed. I had 30 days to vacate. That night, I sat among the Karen flowers, their petals soft against my hands. Lila sat beside me, silent for once. Amos joined us, his badge off, just a man now. "I failed you," he said. "No," I said. "She did. And we let her." I signed the deed the next day, not because I believed her lies, but because the fight was killing us all. Veronica won, but the valley lost. The bulldozers came, tearing out the flowers, leveling the ranch. I left, Lila by my side, carrying only a handful of violet petals. Months later, I heard the resort failed, investors pulled out, Veronica fled. The valley stood empty, scarred, the Karen flowers gone. I'd lost my home, but worse, I'd lost hope. The land remembers, though. Someday, those flowers will grow back. They always do.